Welcome to You and Your Money. You work hard for your money. It should work hard for you. My name is Megan Sather, personal financial counselor for the National Guard, and we are going to talk about you and your money. As a personal financial counselor, these are some of the things that I can help you with. We can talk about some of your financial goals. I can sit down with you one-on-one and help you figure out a budget. We can come up with a plan to pay off your debt. Maybe you want to establish or improve your credit. We can walk you through your credit report, discuss some of the things that you can do to improve your credit. Maybe you're recovering after a divorce, planning for retirement. We can sit down one-on-one and talk about any of these financial issues. As a personal financial counselor, I am here for you, and I am a free resource. So let's talk about the financial planning pyramid. We always have to start at the bottom when we're building anything. So we want to talk about making sure you have adequate income, wise use of credit, insurance. We can all agree that we don't get paid what we think we should, but we all do get adequate income to cover the basics: roof over your head, food in the fridge, gas in the car. When it comes to a spending plan and wise use of credit, you want to make sure that you're not taking on too much debt and that you have a spending plan that shows you where your money goes. And then you want to make sure that you have enough insurance to cover you for any of life's unexpected challenges. Once you have the management level set, then you can move on to savings. So when we talk about savings, experts say you should have 3 separate savings accounts. You should start off with an emergency fund, which I'm sure you have heard all about emergency funds. Some people say you should have 2 years of your living expenses in an emergency fund. I personally think that's an awful lot of cash to have socked away in a savings account. And if at this moment you don't have anything in an emergency fund, that is a very daunting number to be faced with. So let's break it down and make it easy. How about if we start off with $500 in an emergency fund? Most experts say $500 can stave off most emergencies. So set that as a goal. If you don't have any money yet in an emergency fund, shoot for $500. The biggest thing about savings is doing it consistently. Even if you start saving 20 bucks a paycheck, as long as you continue to do it every single paycheck, then you will slowly build up what you have in your emergency fund. You should also start saving for what they call a reserve fund. So let's say that you pay your car insurance every 6 months all at once instead of making monthly payments. So in your reserve fund, what you do is start saving monthly so that when the bill comes, you will have already saved it. There's a holiday that's going to happen at the end of the year. Comes around every single year and seems to surprise a lot of people. But you can start saving now. That would be a holiday reserve fund. And the last savings accounts that experts say you should have is what they call a goal getter. Want to buy a house in 5 years? Want to pay off your car? Want to go on a vacation? All these things are goals. So start saving for them. Now, why did they say you should have 3 separate savings accounts? Because it's amazing how emergency money becomes vacation money when it's all together in the same pot. So spread them out, 3 separate savings accounts, and your bank or credit union will let you have multiple savings accounts. That way you can make sure that your money is doing what you want it to. Once you've built your emergency fund and started saving for some of the things that you want, then you can look into investing for retirement. So let's talk about what we can do from here. So, financial goals. You want to make sure that your goals are what they call SMART goals. They're specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time and cost constrained. So what does all of that mean? So let's say I want to be rich. Is that a good goal? How much is rich? That number may be different for everybody. How do we know when I'm there? When do I want to be there? If I want to be rich by tomorrow, well, that would probably require a lottery ticket. So that's not a very good time constraint. But instead, let's say I want to have $1 million in assets by age 65 and we'll invest $250 a month to get there. That is a good goal. It has a dollar figure. You know when you reach it. It is doable and you're not setting yourself up to fail. So whenever you're making goals, just make sure that you are making SMART goals so that you will achieve whatever it is you set out for. So things to consider. Once you've built that $500, how about you shoot for 2 months of living expenses and emergency fund? Is there any debt you wish you could pay off? Is there something special you want to buy? These are all goals to consider when you're trying to set financial goals. So just think about what it is you want in the future. Doesn't have to be 10 years in the future. It can be 6 months. Just what is it you want? And then you can come up with a SMART plan for how to achieve these goals. So there's 4 critical areas to a budget. Money coming in, money going out. So you want to know your personal living expenses. And under living expenses, we consider rent or mortgage a living expense, income, indebtedness, savings, and investing. These are the 4 main parts of any budget, no matter who you are. When we look at an ideal breakdown of the money that's coming in, experts say you shouldn't be spending more than 70% of your income on living expenses. And like I said, that does include your rent or mortgage because you have to have a roof over your head. No more than 20% of your income on debt, loans, car payments, credit cards. And you should be trying to save at least 10% of your income, saving and investing for retirement. This is the ideal breakdown of a budget. Now, for a lot of people, if that 20% debt is more like 30% debt, usually that extra 10% comes out of saving and investing. So you want to try and get a handle on debt. That way you can start saving and investing for the future. So things to think about. Who was handling the finances during the deployment? Is it time to rethink maybe who was doing that? Post-deployment spending plan. Could that have changed? Are there different things you're spending money on now? You want to make sure that you check your LES and that all your deployment payments have stopped and that taxes are being withheld. You definitely do not want that to be a surprise. Do you need to change any allotments? Maybe your TSP elections. All things to think about when it comes to what might be different in your finances. So, how to establish or repair credit? So, the first thing that always establishes or repairs your credit is having a checking and a savings account. Most people have one. That was the first thing you did to establish credit. Second biggest thing is paying your bills on time. We're going to talk about your credit score, but that is the number one thing that goes into your credit score, paying your bills on time. If you don't have credit or you need to reestablish credit, take out what they call a credit builder loan. And what that means is you borrow your own money, make payments on it, and establish credit. Everybody's guaranteed to get one. You can either do a loan or a credit card, and they call it a secured credit card. So you put cash up front, get a Visa card with that amount as a credit limit, charge on it, make payments, and you will establish credit. Takes 6 months of on-time continuous payments to have established credit. Getting a local retail credit card. Those are relatively easy to get. They're much easier than starting off with a Visa or a MasterCard. So start there, establish credit, and then you will repair it. So good things to use credit for. Impulse buying, everyday purchases, status spending, mood spending. Those are all things you should not be using credit for. Now let me explain. So on my credit card, every month I charge groceries, gas for the car, cable, my cell phone payment. All of those things I charge on my credit card. So those are listed under unwise credit. However, to make it a wise use of credit, I pay that balance off at the end of every month. So I don't carry a balance and I don't pay interest. And the reason why I do this is I get bonus points when I charge on my credit card. And at the end of the year, I use my bonus points to purchase gift cards. And then I've done my holiday shopping. So I've done all my holiday shopping and I never had to spend anything because I was already using my credit card to pay things I would normally spend cash on. So large planned purchases. If you want to buy a new washer and dryer, you get 1 year, 0% interest. That is an excellent use of credit if you pay it off in the year. Assets, buying a house, that's a good use of credit. Education, student loans, emergencies can be a good use of credit. Just don't carry balances. That's when using a credit card becomes unwise if you start making minimum payments on your credit cards. So let's talk about these credit cards. Let's say you want to go get a $5,000 flat screen TV. Charge it on the big electronics store's credit card. 18% interest, which is actually pretty good. Minimum payments, 2% of the balance, so your payments start off at $100 a month. Easy payments. You make the minimum payment on that TV. It's going to take you 39.3 years to pay it off. Are you still going to have that TV in 39 years? I doubt it. And on top of the initial $5,000, you're going to pay $13,000 in interest just by making the minimum payment on that credit card. But let's say instead you double the minimum payment. So you pay 4% of the balance. Instead of 39 years, you're going to pay it off in 11.2 and only pay $2,800 in interest. Now, this doesn't only work if you have to double the payment. Pay an extra $10 to your credit cards. You will pay them off faster. They make enough money off of us with interest. The faster you can pay it off, the better. So, credit. You have 3 credit reports. You need to make sure that you are looking at all 3 credit reports because all 3 reports have completely different information on them. Different creditors report to different reports. So there's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You're entitled to a free copy of each one of these credit reports from annualcreditreport.com. You go onto that website, answer some security questions, and then you'll be able to view your credit report online. If you can't answer the security questions, they'll have you mail in a request to be able to look at your credit report. If you put an active duty alert on your credit report to lock it while you're away, it will expire after 1 year. So your credit score. This is why you want to make sure that everything that's on your credit report is accurate because they determine your credit score based on what's on your credit report. So we talked earlier about the most important thing about establishing credit was to make payments on time. 35% of your FICO score. And for those of you who have heard FICO score but don't know what that means, the Fair Isaac Company is the one that owns your FICO score. They're the ones that have the scores from 300 to 850. It's the one that almost all banks and credit unions use. So the FICO score is the one you need to know what that number is. And 35% of that number is your payment history. They want to know that you pay your bills on time. 30% is the amount owed. So when you charge something on a credit card, that takes away from your credit limit. If you charge more than 30% of your credit limit, they will drop your credit score. So what that means is $1,000 credit limit, you don't ever want to charge more than $300 on it. Once you charge above $300, they start to drop that credit score. And as you can see, that's a pretty big chunk of your credit score. Length of credit history is the next biggest one. The longer you've had credit, the better. Types of credit. They want to see how you use the 2 different types of credit that are available to you, whether that be a credit card, which is considered revolving credit, or a loan, which is considered installment credit. They want to see how you use both. And new credit. Anytime you apply for credit in your name to acquire debt, that's considered an inquiry and it goes on your credit report and it stays on there for 2 years. So you want to make sure that every time you're signing your name to acquire debt, that's really what you want to be doing. 2 exceptions to the rule are buying a house and buying a car. If you're shopping around going to different car dealers. As long as you keep it within a 60-day time frame, you will see each one of those inquiries when you look at your credit report, but FICO will only count it as one inquiry against your credit score. If you go through the mall and apply for 20 different credit cards, each one of those is going to hurt. So just be very careful when you are signing your name to acquire debt, because it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt for a little while. So how to improve your credit score? Pay your bills on time, using less than 30% of your available credit. The lower the better. So if you charge on your credit card and pay it off at the end of every month, then you are helping to raise your credit score. Apply for new credit only when you absolutely have to. And make sure you're looking at your credit report annually, because you want to make sure that everything that's on there is absolutely correct, because that's what's going into determining your credit score. So let's talk about retirement. Ways to save for retirement. So you have some options. So Social Security, it's going to be around. We don't know what form it's going to be in, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be around, so there might be some income. However, you can't live on Social Security alone. Are you going to be getting a pension from a job? Maybe you're going to get military retirement pay. If you work a civilian job, you may have access to a 401k. As the military, you may have access to the thrift savings plan. All of those things are retirement income. Individual retirement accounts, traditional and Roth, those are also available to you. So each one of these things can be a retirement income for you to live on when you've decided you don't want to work full time anymore. So always different places to put your money. Different rules and regulations as to what you can put and where. So lots of things to consider when you're talking about retirement. So starting early when it comes to retirement. The longer your money sits, the more money it will make. So let's say you have 40 years to retirement. If you want $500,000 and you have 40 years to save for retirement, if you save $79 a month, 20 bucks a week, in something that earns at least a 10% annual rate of return, so we're talking the stock market, you can have $500,000, and all you have to invest was almost $38,000. So the difference between $38,000 and $500,000 is all interest. But if you wait 20 years, instead of $79 a month, you have to put away $658 a month to have the same $500,000. So the earlier you start, the better. The longer it sits, the more money it will make. So these are your choices when it comes to TSP. These are the last 10 years of returns. You get to choose where your money is in TSP. CS&I are your 3 risky funds. Those are your stock market funds. G and F are relatively stable. G guarantees it'll never go negative, but it doesn't have a very high rate of return. So as you can see, for our 10% scenario from earlier, you have to be in the stock market to be able to get that kind of rate of return. So for a lot of people who don't have time to be thinking about where their money should be in TSP, they created the life cycle funds. You determine what year is closest to the year in which you want to retire, and they will invest your money for you. They'll break it up into those different funds. As you get closer to retirement, they start reallocating your money so that when you start taking your money out at retirement, 74% of your money is in G and it's safe. They move your money around for you. You don't have to do anything. You just choose which year is closest to the year you want to retire, put it in that life cycle fund, and they will invest it for you. There's no additional fund. There's no additional fee to have to put money into a life cycle fund. You don't have to put all your money into one. You can pick other ones. You can put some of it invested on your own. The rest you do in life cycle. Personal choice. So things to consider. Did you have a power of attorney that you need to revoke or let it expire? Do you need to update your will? Do you have to update beneficiaries or have somebody added to your TSP or civilian account? Service Member Civil Relief Act for non-mortgage interest rates resumes after 30 to 90 days. Mortgages, you get a year. If you had money that you put into the savings deposit program, your interest stopped accruing 3 months after you returned. This is my contact information. Please email me, call me if you have any questions whatsoever. I will try to get you answers as quick as possible. Thank you for your time.